Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Caroline and today we're going to talk about angels. So before we get started, I'm still doing market research on what the chronically ill community needs when it comes to handling and avoiding medical gaslighting. I really want to create a program who can help you with this, but I need your help to do it. So there are two ways you can help me. You can help me either by booking an interview with me, where I will be asking you some questions about your experience with medical gaslighting. The interview will be 30 to 60 minutes and I will put a link in the description down below for the booking site where you can book a time with me for doing the interview. And the other way you can help me, if you're lacking time and you're lacking energy, you can also fill out a questionnaire about your experience with medical gaslighting, and I will of course put a link for the questionnaire down below in the description as well. Thank you so much for everybody who has already done interviews and filled out questionnaires. I really appreciate it. I hope more will join us. So today's topic is angels, and you might be thinking, what happened? Wasn't this a channel about living with chronic illness? And yes it is, and it still is. But I read a book by a Danish author called Hella Juf. Amazing author, amazing woman. And the book is called The Domestic Helper Ramona and Other Angel-like Creatures and Important Angels. The wordplay is better in Danish, but this book is about how angels doesn't have to be this mythical creature with wings that lives in the sky and shows itself in your dreams, and like, you know, kind of the religious way of thinking of angels. The book is about the fact that you meet angels throughout your life. If you look closely, you meet them every day, and they usually come in shape and form of a human being or an animal. And she wrote a book about some of the angels she has met throughout her life that have made an impact on her and made a true difference in her life. So I thought that I would share some angels that I've met with you. And this is a channel about chronic illness. So the 5 angels I'm going to share with you are angels that I've met in my journey with chronic illness. So let's begin. The first angel I want to talk to you about is actually kind of 2 in 1, but the first angel I met in my chronic illness journey, and I have to admit I can't really remember if this was the first time I got admitted with my Crohn's or the second time. I can't really remember, but I was in severe pain in my bowel and I was in the ER and I was crying. I could hardly breathe, and I remember having a pillow with me from home that I was like covering my bowel with, and then I was like sitting hinged over. I couldn't even sit upright and I was feeling incredibly horrible. I had a fever. It was really bad. And the only other people waiting in the ER at that point, which is really rare, was a mother with her son who must have been 6 or 7. And her son had a burn mark on his arm, so he had clearly accidentally burned himself. And I remember seeing this woman saying something to her son, and the son nodded yes, and then she looked at me and she said, "You really don't look that well. You can go before us." And I do remember saying thank you. I don't remember a lot else, but seriously, she's sitting there with her son who is 6, 7 years old. He has a burn mark on his arm, and she's looking at me and thinking, you know what? I think she got it slightly worse. We're just gonna let her go first. What a beautiful moment that was. The fact that she even acknowledged it, and also that her son agreed to it. She literally taught her son that sometimes we need to step aside so other people can get the help they need, because sometimes some people are feeling worse than us. Some people need more help than us. She really taught her son a valuable lesson at that point. And what a brave little boy for agreeing. The fact that he was like, yeah, that's okay, like You're so brave. He has a burning marks on his arm. He was so brave. They were definitely two angels that made a huge difference from me. Not just because I got to see the doctor sooner, but also because they acknowledged how I was feeling and thought I really needed help. So we're just gonna step aside and wait a little longer. I mean, that was so beautiful. So beautiful. The second angel I want to tell you about is a doctor who's a Crohn's, stomach bowel doctor called Benedict. And this story requires that we go a few weeks before I met her. At this point, I was so early in my journey with Crohn's disease that I hadn't had a doctor assigned for me. So when I was in the hospital and they were doing testing and all that, I usually saw different doctors at this point. And I was with my mom in the doctor's office with this rather young doctor, a male, and he wanted to put me on prednisolone, and that's steroids. And he was talking about side effects and stuff like that. And he said to me that I will 100% gain at least 10 pounds. Now, at this point, I was 22, and I had struggled since I was like 13, 14 with body image. I think it comes from when I was 14, and I lost a lot of weight throughout a summer. And then when I came back to school, everybody started to acknowledge me and say that I looked really good because I had lost all this weight. So my teenage brain connected the dots and said, well, people acknowledge you and like you and compliment you when you're skinny. So for many, many years, I really struggled with an eating disorder. And I wasn't over that at this point. I have only been over that since I went down with depression, ADD, and anxiety actually, and I started recovering because it kind of became a part of my recovery that I wanted a better body image. I'm not 100% over it, but I'm a lot better. But at that point, it was still full blown. And in my brain, because of this, thought I'd rather die than gain weight. Even if it was just 10 pounds, right? Even if it was just 10 pounds, I'd rather die. That was literally my thought. And which is tragic enough in itself, right? It was also tragic that the doctor, the way he said it, like, didn't have any sense of human nature at all. But so I didn't take the medicine, and I ended up getting admitted a few weeks later. And then there was this doctor, and this was Benedict, and she wanted to put me on prednisolone as IV, so directly into the veins. And my mom looked at me, and you could tell that my face was like blank in fear, and she looked at this Dr. Benedict and said, she's a little bit afraid of gaining weight because the last doctor told her that she would gain weight. And this doctor, she was right away like, oh my God, no, who told you that? No. That's not the way. Only if you lie down on the couch and only eat pizza or something like that, and you're not even gonna get it for that long. And if you do gain a little, that's just because water tends to bottle up in the body when you take this medicine. Like, that's not, so that will just go away once we stop the treatment. Like, no. And the way she said it was with such an authority and confidence, and also acknowledgement of my fear, that I believed her and I accepted the treatment, and I didn't gain any significant weight. And so basically got the treatment I actually needed at that point to kick back the Crohn's. And I do believe that the universe sent her as an angel in disguise to convince me to do the treatment because I really needed the treatment. If it wasn't for her, I probably never would have gotten the treatment. Who knows where I would have been today, if I would even have been here. So she was definitely an angel in disguise. The third angel is my current Crohn's doctor, Jens. He was assigned to me a few months after I got admitted and got prednisolone, and became my Crohn's doctor, and has been it now for almost 12 years. Wow. And he is the most amazing doctor the most amazing doctor in the whole freaking world. He is the kind of doctor every patient deserves. He listens, he understands, he takes me seriously. He always calls back when I call him. He believes me, he never gaslights me, right? And he's very effective. And he is definitely a doctor because he wants to help people. And he is what every patient deserves. He's an angel walking earth. He is a gift to the healthcare system, to everybody out there with Crohn's. I'm so blessed to have him in my life as my doctor, and I'm fearing for the day. Like, I don't like thinking about that he actually has to retire one day. That just scares the crap out of me because what am I gonna do without him, right? So he makes me feel so safe. When he was assigned as my doctor, I have never been afraid of dying or something like that. I've never been, when people ask me if I'm afraid, if I'm fearful of my illness, I'm like, no. And that's because of him, because he has so much knowledge, confidence, and he takes you seriously. No matter what stupid question you're asking him, he will answer. And if he doesn't have an apparent answer, he will find one, look it up or something like that. And like, he just makes me feel like everything is okay, because you can always, if something happens, nothing's bad's gonna happen, because if your Crohn starts acting up, you just call Jens and then everything will be fine. Like, that's how he makes me feel. And that is a gift that the universe must have granted me. And it's what everybody deserves. The whole healthcare system should look at him and see what he's doing and then copy it, because that's what the healthcare system needs. More doctors and nurses and everybody else like him. He's a living angel, and I don't want to think about the day he retires. The fourth angel that I've met was my psychiatrist, Karen. And she was the one who helped me with my depression, anxiety, and my ADD. And not only was she's an amazing psychiatrist with a lot of experience, she's also very human, very down to earth, and listens, understands, and she's, I don't know, there's something very professional about her, but at the same time, she's a human being. She seems like someone who really understands human suffering, basically. She's the best psychiatrist I've ever met. But that's not even why I think of her one of the angels in my life. It's part of it, but the main story of this is basically that my whole life, I've never thought that I was very intelligent. And this is because I have always had strong opinions. I've always been a little different in my opinions. And I don't know, I just am a little bit different, and I've always been gaslighted on my opinions. Even if science was backing me up, people just laughing at me and gaslighting me and not taking me very seriously. And I've even been told by some people that I wasn't intelligent, that I was stupid, and that I didn't know what I was talking about, even though I did. So I've been gaslighted my whole life into thinking I wasn't that smart. Not that I was completely unintelligent, but just not really anything worth talking about. And when you're being gaslighted, you start to believe it, right? And at this point, I was at my psychiatrist's office, and she was testing me for ADD, so she was asking me all these questions. And she's looking at her paper, and she's writing notes and everything. And then at one point, she looks up, not at me, but like out in the air, like, when you're really thinking hard, sometimes we look in the air and like really thinking. And then she looks at me and she says, "You know what? I think you're really intelligent." Yeah, you are really intelligent, she said. And that for me was a game changer. Here was a psychiatrist with years of experience telling me that I was intelligent. The exact opposite of what everybody else has ever told me. And it worked, so to speak. To this day, I went out of that office thinking, if a psychiatrist is telling me that I'm intelligent, then I am. And that made a huge difference in my life. Till this day, I still struggle sometimes with expressing my opinions, because I'm afraid of being gaslighted. I'm afraid of being laughed at, told that I'm not intelligent. But I'm starting to stand my ground way more. And it doesn't affect me if people don't agree with me as much anymore and they don't understand what I'm saying and they don't want to hear or whatever. It doesn't really affect me because I know that I'm intelligent. So I am slowly starting to be a more authentic version of myself because she told me I was intelligent. Such a small thing, but it had a huge impact on me. And for that, I'm sure the universe sent her to me not only to save my life, basically, but to help me become more authentic, be a more authentic version of myself. So beautiful. The last angel I want to tell you about is a random woman. I don't even know her name. But I was in the ER and I had bowel pain. And I was standing in line. And I was standing a little bit, bent forward because I was having pain in my bowel. And I was so sick. Like, I really felt bad. I was like a little bit delusioned. I think I wasn't thinking straight. It felt so bad. And I was in a hospital, right? There were doctors, there were nurses, everybody else working in the hospital, and there was patients and there were relatives to the patients and so on and so on. Not one person looked at me or gave a crap. And I was standing there in line feeling so bad, and some of the people in front of me were clearly not as sick as I was, but they didn't even say I could go before them or anything like that. I was like, and I was completely alone in the hospital, by the way. I was completely on my own, and I was not happy, and I was in pain, and I was sad, and I was a little bit scared as well because it was painful. You always get that fear, anxiety. And then this woman out of the blue, who was there with her son, came up to me and said, "You really don't look that well. Maybe I should find you a chair. I'm going to find you a wheelchair." And then she came with a wheelchair for me. And she said, "Is there anything else you need? Water, juice, like anything?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm so much pain. I can't drink. I can't really do anything." And she was like, "Are you sure?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "I'm sitting right over there waiting with my son. So if you need anything, you can just tell me. I will help you." And I was like, "Thank you so much." And so on and so on. And that was just for me, like, here I was all alone in the hospital in severe pain and nobody was even looking at me. And then this stranger comes over and acknowledges me. And in that moment, I was in severe pain, but all I really needed was for someone to acknowledge, "You're not doing well." Someone to just tell me that it's not all in your head. Someone acknowledging that you do look sick. It's not just something I'm imagining. And you actually hear. I see you here in the ER. I can see you're not feeling well. Let me help you. And that meant the world to me. What an amazing person, like such an angel for sure. And then about a month later, I went to the grocery store that I shop in, and I realized, wait a minute, that's the woman from the ER. She works in that store, right? I was like, whoa, look at that. And I went up to her and I said if I could ask her something. And she was like, yeah, sure, like a service-minded person. And I said, were you in the ER about a month ago with your son? And she was like, yes. And I could tell. She was like, how did you know that? And I said to her, I was the one who, with the stomach pain that you helped with the wheelchair. And she was like, oh my God, how are you? Like she started asking if I was okay and stuff like that, and which was just so beautiful. I also asked about her son, if he was okay, and then I said to her, I just wanted to say thank you because I was in so much pain and I was all alone, and you were the only one who acknowledged my existence. And it meant the world to me. Thank you so much. She almost got tears in her eyes. It meant the world to her that I told her that I really appreciated what she did for me that day. And that's how I want to end this video. If you do meet these angels, sometimes, especially when we're sick, we don't always give them the gratitude that they might deserve because we are in pain, we're not thinking straight, and that's perfectly fine. But if you ever get the opportunity to thank one of these angels in your life and tell them how much it meant for you, that they actually acknowledge you and that they did something out of the extraordinary for you or whatever. Like, tell them, because I believe that being grateful and telling people when they did make a difference for someone is what one by one is going to make the world a better place. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video and turn on notifications, share the video. You can also go follow me on my Instagram, that's also called The Art of Being Ill, and I will see you next time right here on my channel, The Art of Being Ill.